Good morning. It is Friday, June the 11th, and this is The Drill. I'm Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, welcoming all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers. Today I'm going to be reading from the Daily Declaration for Spiritual Warfare. We're going to then recite the Pledge of Allegiance, sing the Star-Spangled-Banner, and then after that, the covert. We're going to pick up, I believe it's number 20, on the covert emotional manipulation techniques, and then commentary after that. Whoops, excuse me. Try that again. There we go. Let's see. So, I will deliver you from double-mindedness. My child, follow my word to you through my servant Jude, to build yourself up in your most holy faith and to pray in my Holy Spirit. Then your faith will be strong, and you will stand in faith when your faith is tested with the trials and temptations that you face. The testing of your faith produces patience, and through your patience you will become perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Come to me in total faith, with no doubting, for he who doubts is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. I cannot answer the prayers of a double-minded man, for he is unstable in all his ways. If you will stand in faith, I will deliver you from all double-mindedness and will establish you in all your ways. Prayer declaration. Father, direct my heart into the love of God and into the patience of Christ, that I may be delivered from any double-mindedness regarding the image of God. I stand on the promises of your word and commit myself to fight the good fight of faith, that I may lay hold of the blessings of God. I will not allow doubt to creep into my life, but will wait with faith and patience to inherit your promises. Amen. So I recite those daily declarations for spiritual warfare to remind myself and to remind all true conservatives and not so true conservatives that in order to be a true conservative, you have to believe in God. You can be a true conservative Jew. You can be a true conservative Muslim. You can be a true conservative Christian, of course. But you cannot be a true conservative Hindu. You cannot be a true conservative Shinto. You cannot be a true conservative Taoist, etc. So that's that in terms of reminding everybody. Oh, and then, of course, that part and parcel of that is acknowledging Satan and Satan's works. Satan would like nothing better than for you and I to simply pretend that he doesn't exist so that he can do his evil deeds without being noticed, so to speak. So now we're going to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Very good. And now the singing of our Star-Spangled Banner.
Stars
Very good, very beautiful. And the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star-Spangled Banner are essential because only conservatives, true conservatives, can be patriots and patriotic. The socialists are globalists. So when I come back, I'm going to be reading from the book, The 30 Covert Emotional Manipulation Techniques. Thank you. And this is technique number 20, intentional forgetting. And so, just a second here. Let me get my glasses on. There we go. That's better. The manipulator pretends he or she forgot something that's important to you, such as an agreement, a promise, or commitment, or even an ingredient you need for dinner that night that he agreed to pick up on his way over. The manipulator will look you in the eye and keep a straight face as they tell you they're sorry, but they simply forgot your request or they don't recall making that agreement. When a manipulator forgets something that is important to you, they are attempting to evade responsibility by blaming something out of their control. In addition, the manipulator is implying that whatever it was they forgot wasn't important enough for them to remember, and neither are you. 21. Brandishing anger or traumatic one-trial learning. The manipulator will put on an act of intense anger for the purpose of shocking you into submission. This is called traumatic one-trial learning because it will quickly train you to avoid confronting, upsetting, or contradicting the manipulator. The left does that on a regular basis, usually in the House of Representatives or any time that they're making a speech, where they will raise their voices, they will yell and scream, and again, it's a bluff. Number 22, scapegoating. A scapegoat is defined as a person or animal that takes on the sins of another, and they are unfairly blamed for other people's problems. A scapegoat is also known as a whipping boy or a fall guy. Scapegoating is the process of singling out a victim and making them responsible for problems when they are not really the one who deserves the blame. A person can be made into a scapegoat for a relationship or for an entire family or even a workplace. Skilled manipulators usually scapegoat another person on purpose, while others unconsciously project their unwanted thoughts and feelings onto another to make them take the blame for their own mistakes or shortcomings, which relieves the one doing the scapegoating of shame, blame, and responsibility. Many of the manipulation tactics listed here include an element of victim blaming, but scapegoating goes beyond that. People who are made into scapegoats feel deep and persistent shame and develop a victim mentality. 23. Belittling. The manipulator will diminish and belittle the victim's opinions and ideas, either verbally or non-verbally, through the use of eye rolls, scoffs, smug smiles, sarcasm, or a mocking tone of voice. This tactic induces shame and humiliation, crushes your self-esteem, and makes you much less willing to voice your opinions and ideas in the future. Diminishing a victim's self-esteem makes it easy for a manipulator to put himself in control. 24. Putting you on the defensive. Many of the covert tactics listed here will put you on the defensive, meaning that they cause you to feel that you must verbally defend who you are, what you believe, or what the truth is. It's an important sign to look for if you're trying to determine if you're a victim of manipulation. There's a reason manipulators want to put you on the defensive. Covert manipulation tactics trigger you to react emotionally instead of responding rationally, which is exactly what the manipulator wants. Calm, rational conversations don't always go in their favor. In addition, they can use your emotional reactions against you if they choose to, as you've seen in several other tactics. 25. Creating fear. What many of these manipulation tactics have in common is that they make the victim feel fear, namely the fear of losing the manipulator and the relationship. We don't want to lose them, so we act in the way they want us to act in order to avoid that loss. In this situation, it's convenient that the person who created our fear is the only one who can relieve our fear, so we unwittingly end up giving them all the power in the relationship. Creating fear is a powerful way to gain control. Politicians do it all the time. They create or exaggerate a potentially dangerous problem and then tell you that if you vote for them, they'll protect you from it. And also in this situation where you are being made fearful, the left will try to strip from you whatever it is that you hold dear. It may or may not be your relationship with Mr. or Ms. Lefty, right? But what they will do is maybe suggest that if you don't agree with them, you're going to end up losing your job. Or that if you don't agree with them, you're going to end up losing your house or your family or something of that nature. And so that way that you're going to feel fearful. And so they become the only ones that can relieve your fear. Now, the key to this, to understanding and defeating it, is that it's a bluff. If you think about it, they need you. Okay? They need you, and they need you to be fearful. If you simply refuse to be afraid or react in a fearful manner, they can't manipulate you. What they will do is start probing around, looking for a trigger, something that will trigger you into a fearful response. So they will try various different things. If they start with your job and that doesn't work, then they're going to go to your family, then they're going to go to something else. But realize that you have the power, not them. It may seem at first blush that the manipulator is in control, but they're not. You are. By simply withholding your fear, they get no psychological benefit. They get no sensation or experience of being in control. 26, the pity play. I'm sure that if the devil existed, he would want us to feel very sorry for him, quote unquote. Martha Stout, author of The Sociopath Next Door. Using this tactic, the manipulator will inspire your pity by making themselves look like the victim of circumstance or of some unfair person or organization. This elicits your sympathy and your cooperation, because as a person with a conscience, you can't stand to see someone else suffering. Manipulators know how to take advantage of your conscience. Using the pity play tactic, the manipulator will tell you a sad story that tugs upon your heartstrings. They might tell you that they were unfairly fired from their job and need money to pay their bills, or that they've been unfairly evicted by their crazy landlord and need a place to stay, only until they find a new apartment. Oh, and the landlord kept their security deposit, so they'll need to save money for another one and won't be able to help you with living expenses. The pity play can be much more subtle. If you find out your new love interest is married but didn't say so, he or she will tell you a heartbreaking story of their spouse's emotional neglect and the terrible loneliness they've endured because of it. They'll say that they only imagined they would meet someone else, especially someone as wonderful as you. One crafty manipulator hung his head and said, quote, I give up. I put my heart on a shelf. I never dreamed I'd fall in love again. And now, here you are. I should have told you I was married, but I was so scared I'd lose you. Unquote. And again, as with all of these bluffs, it's plausible. It is very plausible. It sounds very, very plausible. Not a word of it was true, but it worked. She felt so sorry for this poor, lonely, and hopeless man who'd given up on life until she came along. 27, this is a rationalization. This is known as justification or excuse-making. The manipulator creates reasons for their bad behavior that sound logical and rational in order to make their actions more understandable, acceptable, or appropriate. Another way I've heard it put is that rationalizing is a way of taking socially unacceptable behavior and trying to make it socially acceptable. You're passing gas at a party, and people start to give you looks and vibrations of disapproval instead of perhaps the laughter that you were expecting. So you rationalize it that you have some kind of physical or medical problem. They do this to get you off their back so they can continue doing what they feel like doing. Quote, every man watches porn. It's not just me, unquote. Quote, what I did wasn't legal. If it were, there would be a law against it, right? Oh, wasn't illegal, I'm sorry, unquote. Quote, I'm sorry I hit you. I just lost my mind for a minute because you pushed so many of my buttons, unquote. When you trust someone and want to think the best of them, you strive to understand their behavior. Manipulators are happy to help you do that. 28. Flattery. Any halfway clever devil would decorate the highway to hell as beautifully as possible, quote unquote. Chris Jammy. You, my dear reader, are strikingly intelligent, so I know you will learn to recognize the manipulation tactic of flattery. Flattery is excessive or false praise, and compliments given in an effort to ingratiate you to a manipulator in order to advance their or his or her own agenda. Manipulators use flattery because it works. We want to feel good about ourselves, so we like others who make us feel that way. When we think someone recognizes and appreciates our good qualities, it can have a powerful effect. But again, the key to this is listening to your conscience, right? If somebody is telling you, what a wonderful person you are, let's say, wow, you're so... you sit down at a piano and you're tinkling along, and somebody says, "Wow, boy, you're a really gifted or talented pianist," and in your mind, your conscience is saying, "No, this is not right," because you know that perhaps you haven't taken a single lesson, you haven't done much on the piano at all. Usually flattery sticks out as opposed to the true and legitimate compliment. If you're good at music and you're good on the piano, you have a gift and a talent for it, and somebody tells you so, that works. But if the compliment doesn't fit, again, if your conscience is telling you something's wrong here, something probably is. Let's see. Flattery can make you feel beautiful, intelligent, appreciated, valued, lovable, sexy, or special. You may think you would notice insincere praise and compliments, but skilled manipulators can pull it off without you noticing. If flattery accompanies an obvious ulterior motive, it's easy to spot. And he's wrong here. He's making these manipulators seem like they're all powerful, but they're not. And again, the barrier, the watchman of you and your soul is your conscience. When your conscience throws the bullshit flag, you got to pay attention. The problem is that too many of us disregard. We disregard. Who am I to say? That's what we ask ourselves. Who am I to say? So when the conscience says, they're flattering you, and if they're flattering you, it's probably because they want to get something from you. Okay, we say, well, who am I to say? So you disregard your conscience and go ahead doing something that your conscience is telling you you shouldn't do. Let's see. After all, if this person doesn't seem to want anything from you, if they're not selling you something, trying to get you in bed, hoping for a raise, or asking for a loan, why would they be buttering you up? Just as a manipulator's agenda can be kept hidden, so can their flattery. There are methods of flattery that are very subtle or craftily disguised. It doesn't matter. It doesn't get past your conscience. If you have a conscience, and it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, you can have 160 IQ, you can have a 60 IQ. You still have a conscience. Your conscience will still protect you if you listen to it. One of the most subtle forms of flattery is being asked for your advice. It conveys the idea that the manipulator respects and admires your opinions, knowledge, or skill. And this could work only if you're in a situation where you have more experience than the manipulator does. But then if you do truly have more experience and your advice is actually worth something, then they're not manipulating you. They're simply stating reality. Another way to disguise flattery is to preface it with a disclaimer such as, I don't want to embarrass you, but, or I know you won't want me to say this, but. Another method of disguise is for the flatterer to disagree with you with your point of view at first and then come around to agreeing with you. This technique will make you feel smart, persuasive, and listened to. And again, listen to your conscience. Your conscience, if your conscience throws the bullshit flag, listen to it. Complimenting you to people you know when you're not present and expecting to pass the compliment on to you is an effective disguise. Using this method, the flatterer avoids looking like an obvious suck-up. When someone compliments a quality you have that is seldom noticed or appreciated by others, it's a powerful maneuver that leads you to believe that the manipulator is able to recognize your best points and that they value them. That's just the kind of person we want in our lives. Skilled manipulators excel at reading people and figuring out their emotional needs. They also excel at pretending to fulfill them. Well, and again, this makes them sound like they're all powerful and that they can manipulate anybody. There are people that are manipulable, and there are people that are not manipulable. Okay, that's the way it is. So what the primary skill that the manipulator has is figuring out who's who. Okay, so for instance, if they wanted to butter you up with flattery so they can get close to you for whatever reason, just maybe for long-term benefits of some sort, what they want to do is they want to make sure it's going to work. Nobody wants to waste their time. So they're not going to go randomly walking around, try this, try that, try the other thing. They listen to you. Like what the author was saying here is, let's see, diddly-doodly-doo. Let's see, when somebody compliments a quality that is seldom noticed or appreciated by others. So there are people that you'll hear that will complain. Well, I do this, I do that, and I don't get appreciated for it. Right? The manipulator is going to, bing, that's a signal. This person, first of all, who complains about that kind of thing? Nobody's appreciated perhaps to the full extent that they should be. As adults, we just deal with that and move on. We take our compliments and we take our attaboys where we find them, knowing that it's never going to be perfect, that we're never going to get full credit. It's just not going to happen. That's part of being an adult. Now, you have some people that are insecure. And so the insecure then come out and want constant affirmation or reaffirmation. And so they want to always be praised for the things that they do well. And they have a tendency to complain when they don't. The manipulator is going to listen for that. When he hears a person saying, oh, well, I don't get enough praise or diddly-daddly-do, then what the manipulator will do, not right away, if he's smart, because then it becomes obvious, but he waits a few hours, a few days, and then says, by the way, out of nowhere, give the compliment that the manipulatee is looking for. Okay? And then the manipulatee likes you because you recognize their hidden genius or whatever. So in other words, what we're talking about is that sick people find each other. Manipulators are sick people. You don't need to manipulate others to get what you want. It's not necessary. If you're polite, if you play by the normal rules of society, and you have a decent self-esteem, then again, it's just not necessary. So, and manipulators can only manipulate those people that are also sick, that are basically looking to be manipulated, whether they realize it or not. They're insecure, and again, they don't get appreciated enough, so the other manipulator finds this person, and so then they perform this little dance. Number 29, love bombing. Yours is the light by which my spirit's born. You are my sun, my moon, and all my stars, quote unquote, from E.E. Cummings. And the author, or whoever edited this, did it wrong. Because if I'm not mistaken, E.E. Cummings always he didn't use capital letters. And here it's capital E, capital C for Cummings. And so anyways, but love bombing is a special form of flattery that deserves its own category. Manipulators employ love bombing to ensnare a target. It's a veritable campaign of flattery that bombs the target with nonstop positive reinforcement that includes compliments, praise and appreciation, declarations of once-in-a-lifetime love, spending as much time as possible with them, frequent calls, texts, and emails, gift-giving, fantastic love-making, and engaging in many fun and romantic activities. It can and does happen strictly online as well. What greater flattery could there be than having someone who believes you're the most wonderful person they've ever known, someone who truly appreciates you and believes you are worthy of their time, attention, energy, and heart? The victim is swept off their feet straight into a relationship that will turn into the worst experience of their life. But again, this doesn't happen to a healthy person. This is the author is making it sound as though manipulators are these crafty people that can, these Svengalis that can manipulate anybody, that you've got to be constantly on guard for. Baloney. If you're a healthy, an emotionally, psychologically healthy human being, you really, by and large, have nothing to worry about. Now, we all have our weak moments where we will, something happens and we, let our, for whatever reason, we become vulnerable to manipulation. But it doesn't end up being a complete catastrophe, because we will soon recognize that we're being manipulated, or we may even know it from the beginning, but just decide to allow it to play out because it's fun, it's different, it's new, or because I just don't feel like fighting it right now. But eventually we're going to figure it out and put a stop to it. The people in which that the author is really talking about, again, are the people that are sick. The sick manipulator finds the sick manipulatee. Okay, so, excuse me. A clue that you're being manipulated with love bombing is a rapid pace set by the manipulator. Women have complained about this all the time with men and say, why is it men always come on so strong? I don't know. I've noticed it with myself. When I have a woman that I'm interested in, I have a tendency to want to, again, be around her all the time and flattering her and, doing all that kind of thing. And come on strong, in other words. So it leaves you out of time to come up for air and think clearly and carefully about who the person really is and what their motivations are. That's baloney too. Again, if you're healthy, you find the time to... it's not hard to do, to keep an eye on this person. Again, if you listen to your conscience, you know who's BSing you and who isn't. Okay. If you're, let's say, Winston Churchill, and you're single, and everybody's coming to you telling you what a wonderful man you are, you've just led England through World War II victoriously, and people want to tell you how wonderful you are, and you're absolutely the cat's pajamas, and you're the thing. They're not manipulating you. They're actually telling you the truth, because you are that kind of a person. And that's the thing, is that healthy people know who they are. If you try and treat me like I'm Superman, I know I'm not Superman. I'm not going for it. Okay, I may just to get rid of you, act like I'm going for it, just smile and thank you very much. That's a very sweet compliment, but I'm looking for the exit. I'm looking for a way to get away from you and stay away from you, because I'm a healthy individual and I know what time it is. Let's see, where are we at here? Your best defense is to slow the pace of any relationship that begins with such idealization and intensity. Easier said than done when you believe you've met your soulmate. Keep it in mind anyways. Remember, it takes time to get to know someone's true character. There we go. That's another word that jumps out. Character. Too many times people end up in relationships that are destructive because they evaluate people. They've been brainwashed by the left, by Nancy, by, what's her name, from Los Angeles, to, what do they call her, Auntie what's her name. But anyways, that been brainwashed by these folks to judge people based on their personality, not their character. Okay, and one of the character traits is manipulation. If this person needs to manipulate me, is this a person I'm going to be able to rely on? Is this somebody I'm going to be able to count on? Is this somebody that's going to be a partner? Or in the long run, is this somebody I'm going to have to constantly prop up emotionally? Okay, women sometimes do this. Female manipulators is being needy because they think that that's going to turn a guy on. Then so some guys that love, they think being feminine is being needy. And so when a woman that's needy comes along, they just eat it up. Okay, so fortunately for me, I don't go for that kind of thing. Because I ask myself in the long run, am I going to have to constantly emotionally prop her up? Is she always going to be whining and always seeming like she's in need of rescue? That's it. So it says, like I said, slow the pace of the relationship. Remember, takes time to get to know their true character. It really doesn't take that much time. Okay, if you're looking for character, so you're asking yourself, are they reliable? Not are they funny? Does their smile light up the room? Are they generous? Is a character trait also, but very often is treated as a personality thing. Do they make shallow things? Do they make you feel good? Oh, are they reliable? Are they trustworthy? Are they responsible? Those are that's character issues, and that's what's going to see you through a relationship long term, long after all the flattery and other stuff of the relationship has gone. So we all believe we're good judges of character, but in truth we're not, and that's true because we've been brainwashed to be good judges of personality. That as long as the rule is that as long as somebody is social, that they're sociable, and that they interact with people well and want to interact with people, then they're good persons, and you should go ahead and have a relationship with them. So, preferably, let's see here, what else we got? If the person really loves you, they won't go anywhere. Maintain your goals, boundaries, activities, interests, and relationships. If the person really loves you, they won't go anywhere. So don't be... You don't want to be in a position where you allow yourself to be overwhelmed by the initial feelings of love and attraction and whatnot. You have to, but that's part of that is being an adult. And again, if you had parents, people that were actually doing parenting and not pretending to be your friend, they would point that out to you. It's what we used to call puppy love. You see, oh, you kind of get into that kind of a mode. And parents are supposed to be there to tell you that's puppy love. It's not going to last. And so don't get used to it. And that when you experience other forms of that onrush of, wow, that person is wonderful, the parent should be there to help you temper that and make sure that you're not throwing yourself at somebody and setting yourself up to be manipulated and setting yourself up for a fall. Back in a minute. Thank you. Buy the book. I got to say that first. I have a companion book out called The Drill, and it's for sale on Amazon, $2.99. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read it for free. And again, it's called The Drill. It's 80 some odd pages. The last 20 pages are recommended reading, and that alone is worth the price. So again, The Drill for sale on Kindle Publishing. Buy it. And those of you that are on YouTube, if you like this particular episode, of course, hit the like button, subscribe, etc. So that brings me to the conclusion of another episode of The Drill. And until next time, be honest, be smart, be beautiful, and always remember that the left has no authority, has no power, and they can't win.